Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, August 30th, 2024. We're getting ready for the Labor Day weekend. We got a couple of topics to cover. First and foremost, we have the developing La Nina. Yeah, it's starting to get a little bit cooler out there, colder out there, out towards the tropical Pacific as our sea surface temperatures are getting colder. Notice the coldest sea surface temperatures are in the eastern zones. We're just starting to cool off towards the date line. This is the date line right here. The reason why I keep an eye on the date line is because if you get your coldest water anomalies starting to set up here, then you suppress a lot of what we call convection or thunderstorms. That impacts your 500 millibar pattern, and it has a great influence on the fall weather pattern and the winter weather pattern. When you have the coldest anomalies here, that means you have your greatest suppression of convection here, which means that you have the potential for more convection or thunderstorms here and here, which enhances your trough around here and builds more ridges here and troughs here. So that's why orientation matters just as much as strength. And right now, we are still in a neutral state, but we are shifting towards a weak east-based La Nina. I expect to see that continue to evolve over the next several weeks. Now, in terms of the fall weather pattern, there's a bit of a lag time between when something like this is established and the influence in the 500 millibar pattern. So I'm not expecting any significant changes. I still expect a progressive weather pattern, one where you're going to see a lot of troughs and ridges march through the region. Your troughs in general are going to feature more of a positively tilted trough, and you're going to see a lot of troughs around the Pacific Northwest and the Eastern United States, and we still are going to be dealing with the battle with our Western Atlantic Ridge. So not a lot is going to change in that respect. But it's certainly going to start to lead to a slight reduction in the jet stream in the subtropical jet stream, and that reduction of vertical wind shear will lead to support for a slow increase in tropical activity. And also, we're moving into a more favorable atmospheric environment with the MJO and also with the SOI. Now, the SOI has been negative or more El Nino like for much of this summer. But finally, we are starting to move into a positive state. The daily values are sustained in a positive state. And right now, we have our 30-day average rapidly rising towards 5. We're at 4.27 now. We've been seeing a steady rise. The seasonal value is at minus 1.98. So I would call this a weak negative state. Overall, what this is telling me is that we're in the middle of a shift in our 500 millibar pattern forcing. So expect a lot of volatility in the model gains, which I'll touch on in just a moment. While that's happening, the intertropical convergence zone is shifting a little bit further north. We're seeing some activity. The National Hurricane Center is keeping an eye on this feature here and this feature here. And there is potential for more development here, about 50% chance as it approaches the Lesser Antilles, which is this right here. And then you have about 20% chance here on this one over the next 7 days. I think both of them have a chance for development here, so we're going to have to watch it. And the model guidance is suggesting more activity. Now, let me just explain how to read this, okay? Because what you have here is European ensembles. The ensembles is made up anywhere between 51 and 100 different solutions. And then you look at where they're clustering, right? So that doesn't mean that you're going to see every one of these lines here is an individual storm that's going to form, but each model guidance is taking that storm potential, which you could take about right here. And this one is saying that the disturbance that is approaching the Lesser Antilles, well, it looks like it has a good chance of moving into the Caribbean, where it could be a threat for someone along the Gulf Coast between Florida and Texas over the next 10 days. So have to watch that. It's also saying that, look, there's a chance that something could spawn here in the Gulf of Mexico and kind of drift up towards the Texas coast. That's a possibility that climatologically that's supported. So over the next 10 days, it wouldn't be out of the norm to see something like that try to develop. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. The other tropical wave that we're watching, it looks like it has a pretty good potential of turning north into the Atlantic here. That is the best potential. There are some solutions to try to pull it north and then shift it back to the west. So we'll see if that plays out. A lot of that will depend on the evolution of our Western Atlantic Ridge. And because we're seeing a lot of progressive troughs moving through the northern tier, which is typical of La Nina, it's suggesting that any tropical system that does form is not a threat for the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, does that mean that you can't get rainfall from any of these storms? No. If you get a landfall along the eastern Gulf Coast over the next 10 to 15 days, some of that remnant moisture could run up the coast. That certainly is a possibility. But in terms of direct impacts, nothing is really standing out here at all, any of the guidance. So, yes, as we move towards the peak of the hurricane season, I was always expecting some sort of increase in activity. I mean, it's been dead quiet. So, yeah, I mean, that's not unreasonable at all. So, we're going to keep an eye on the activity, see how it takes place. So, we got 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 potential developments here. Nothing is concrete, nothing is definite here. Again, we have to wait for an actual warm core low to form. Then we have to see what the structure looks like, if there's any dry air involved in the low pressure system circulation, any unexpected vertical wind shear, anything of that nature. So I wouldn't jump ahead on anything other than the fact that we should see an uptick in activity over the next 10 days, especially since we're moving towards the climatological peak. Closer to home, we have high pressure that is over New England and it's sitting right over Connecticut, so obviously it's pretty quiet there. We have an onshore flow at the surface, and you can extend that up to 925 millibars. So we have a lot of overcast or broken cloud cover, a few showers and thunderstorms moved through earlier this morning. We have a threat for a few more pop-up showers. Again, you're seeing one right around Scranton with a few showers here, light rainfall. So we have this onshore flow. So right off the bat, what that tells me is that we have a stable environment. So you're having air mass coming in from the Atlantic, which is stable into the environment. So that rules out the potential for any type of severe thunderstorms, but certainly the potential for heavier downpours. And you can see that very nicely here on our latest QT. Basically, what this tells me is that it's a moisture-loaded environment, not much in the way of instability, but you get a little bit of lifting, like let's say via isotropic lifting, and you end up with the potential for some heavier downpours, especially with your precipitable water values over 1.5 inches. So we're going to have to watch out for that throughout the day. Not a washout, but certainly something to keep an eye on. So when I'm taking a look at the different levels here, this is at 925 millibars, the moisture transport. Notice everything's coming in from the Atlantic, and we were looking at the surface as well, easterly winds. Well, what about the mid levels? Let's say 850 millibars. Well, not exactly. It's coming in from the southwest, and you get a little bit of a convergent zone setting up off the coast. But notice at 850 millibars, very weak transport coming from the southwest, but still transport enough to transport a tropical air mass into the region. And then you got the influence in from the Atlantic. So what this tells me is that we have some isotropic lifting taking place here, some very weak frontogenesis. Let's see what the latest frontogenesis looks like. And what frontogenesis is the area of lifting. And again, it's a bit disorganized, a bit weak, but certainly supportive enough to produce scattered showers and thunderstorms. At 850 millibars, again, scattered, disorganized. So the potential for widespread rainfall is starting to fade away for today, but certainly the threat for scattered showers still remains in this setup. And when you have precipitable water values that are enhanced with a nice moisture gradient, that could lead to some pretty heavy downpours. So again, today's going to feature a lot of cloud cover and the threat for a few showers here capable of intense downpours. And part of that enhancement is this trough axis is lifting through the region. So that's why we had some more scattered showers earlier this morning with some embedded thunderstorms. You might have heard a little bit of rumble of thunder earlier this morning. That is via this trough axis I was moving through. Now we have convergence and confluence setting up as this ridge axis approaches. And this is going to move through today on through tomorrow morning. So what does this do? Well, the convergence and confluence limits the development of any type of widespread rainfall, especially by this afternoon on through this evening into tomorrow morning. As this ridge axis is moving through, it's moving through because this deep trough is approaching. So we get a little bit of respite for tomorrow with variable cloud cover, a little bit more humidity, temperatures a bit warmer because this tropical air mass is trying to push into the region. And then we have this trough that's going to be approaching, and that is going to be moving through tomorrow evening on through Sunday morning. So on our latest surface map and radar from WeatherTap, you can see those pesky showers. Here's the bulkier rain from this morning pushing off the coast. This will continue to remain off the coast, but we'll have to keep an eye out for these pesky showers like what we're seeing here on Allentown. And that's going to continue to be a theme. So I can't rule out, I can't forecast dry conditions today. If you have outdoor activities planned, going to a baseball game, for example, just be prepared for a passing shower that can produce a quick, heavy downpour. And so on the water vapor satellite picture, you have the confluence from the upper levels, the convergence at the lower levels. You have your strongest convergence and confluence here off the mid-Atlantic coast. So that's where you're going to see your steadier rainfall. And then here comes your trough coming in, get ready to clear all this out. And behind this trough, take a look at the infrared satellite picture. Clear skies. A true polar air mass. Just in time for Labor Day and the first meteorological week of fall. So when I say meteorological, again, in meteorology, fall starts September 1st. In astronomy, fall begins September 21st. So there's that separation. But for meteorologists, fall begins on September 1st. And so the first week of fall for us meteorologists is, well, going to set up rather fall-like with a true polar air mass and low humidity for the start of fall. So that's certainly some good news. I'm just jumping ahead a little bit. At our visible satellite picture, you can see plenty of low clouds hanging around the region. There is our lifting. Look at how these thunderstorms are growing here because of that lifting. So it's kind of like popcorn percolating out here. That's going to remain off the coast. But because all these low clouds hanging around and that moisture transport at the mid levels and at the lower levels coming in different directions. Again, watch out for some of those pesky showers. Not the best day to go out and get a tan. That is for sure. And unfortunately, it's going to be a theme at least through Sunday morning. So when we take a look at our 500 millibar pattern, I want to bring up a few things with this forecast. And sometimes I like to use model guidance to show an error. So through this weekend, I think the forecast is pretty well locked in. We get our cold front moving through on Saturday, kind of lingers around Sunday, Monday, absolutely beautiful. Polar air mass comes in, but there is some error in the forecast for the end of the week, which is going to show up on the surface map. I don't buy this. Look, you have a positive tilted trough. When you do have that positive tilted trough, this type of lifting typically is forced out in the Atlantic. So we'll keep an eye on the potential for the end of the week, maybe a wave of low pressure developing and maybe some rainfall. But right now, I'm thinking more of scattered cloud cover than anything else. And this is going to get pushed out in the Atlantic. We'll keep an eye on this, but I have my doubts on this setup. And also, when I see these squiggly lines like this, when it's set up like this tells me there's some sort of convective error involved here. So we're going to ignore that in the forecast as we go forward. But I do like the idea, again, of a trough being dominant over the region as we move on through the fall. Check out the fall forecast in the Premium Consulting Dashboard, where I discuss the influences of the developing La Nina and our fall weather pattern overall. At least for the next 90 hours, though, the lifting is going to be disorganized until we get that cold front to move through on Saturday night and Sunday morning. And that is when we're going to have the potential for some heavier downpours. Our precipitable water values are going to be enhanced today because of the transport from the Atlantic and from the tropics. But then, as that cold front moves through, we get one area of moisture transport all coming in from the Gulf of Mexico up into the mid-Atlantic ahead of the cold front. And that's going to lead to the potential for some heavier downpours Saturday night to Sunday morning with this cold front moving through. and a few embedded thunderstorms. But look at what happens on Labor Day. That is some strong cold air and dry air transport. What about relative humidity at 700 millibars? Look at that. You're talking about relative humidity below 10%. That is some clear skies for Labor Day. So if you have plans to go to the beach, your best day is going to be on Monday. But, if you like hot temperatures, then you're kind of out of luck for this weekend. That is for sure. Hopefully for some time. So let's dive into this forecast for today. Scattered showers, a few isolated thunderstorms, variable cloud cover, high temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 70s on Long Island, upper 70s to lower 80s around the New York City metro and the Philadelphia metro, mid to upper 70s over the interior. For tonight into tomorrow morning, variable cloud cover, a few isolated showers. Look for low temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 60s over the northern interior, lower 70s along the coast. For tomorrow afternoon, scattered cloud cover, isolated showers, high temperatures range from the upper 70s to lower 80s over the interior and around the New York City metro, mid to upper 80s in the Philadelphia metro. On Sunday, the cold front moved through Saturday night into Sunday morning with showers and thunderstorms in the morning, gradually clearing in the afternoon with a few isolated showers hanging around. Low temperatures range from the upper 50s to lower 60s over the northern interior, mid to upper 60s along the coast, and a few lower 70s are going to be mixed into your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the upper 70s to lower 80s over the northern interior, upper 70s to lower 80s in the New York City metro, and lower to mid 80s along the New Jersey coast, and upper 80s to lower 90s in the Philadelphia metro. A lot of this is dependent on the timing of the cold front sinking through. On Labor Day, high pressure is going to be in control, clear skies, low humidity, low temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s over the northern interior, mid 60s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, mid to upper 70s in the New York City metro, upper 70s to lower 80s in the Philadelphia metro. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, high pressure will be in control with tranquil conditions. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 50s over the northern interior, mid to upper 50s in your suburbs, upper 50s to lower 60s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior, mid to upper 70s along the coast, upper 70s to lower 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Friday, we'll watch that area of low pressure. Right now, I'm going with scattered cloud cover and then possibly some late evening showers and thunderstorms on Friday night. But for right now, I think this is overdone. I don't buy this one bit right now. We'll see as we get better support on the type of PVA involved here between distal tropical and polar jet stream. But when you have a positively tilted trough and a progressive pattern, this most likely ends up being something that's out in the Atlantic, and then you get your cold front passage in the evening. So we'll keep an eye on that. Looking at low temperatures to range from the mid to upper 50s for lows and high temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 70s over the interior, mid to upper 70s around the New York City metro, and upper 70s to lower 80s in the Delaware River Valley. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay safe out there.